Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Wednesday, the 16th of April, 2025, which makes this the news for Tuesday, April 15th. Happy Tax Day, America. Day 1147 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5, coming to you from this major European capital, currently under siege. And I see that the peeps are coming in. There's Daryl Roberts. How do you do, sir? There's Hobo. I see Hobo is here. Richard Prexis. How do you do, Richard? Nice to see you guys. And before we get started, while we're waiting for people to come in, let me take a moment and for the purposes of the recording, note the sponsors of tonight's live. Hey, Bobby. We had, for the last week, for the last 5 lives consistently. Hey, Parda. Hey, Simon. We've had 7 sponsors. Chris Carter, Barria Trisabella 57, and Tony. I'm not forgetting Tony, Cynthia. Dark Irish, our buddy Fitz there. Jose Hernandez, Little Red Sunflower, Integral, and Jerry O, my buddy from Ireland. Hi, Feisty. How's everybody doing tonight? So big thanks to our sponsors. The sponsors and anybody that follows this channel may be interested to know tomorrow the lawyer and I go to the immigration office. We cross our T's and dot our I's. And my next year's temporary residency visa here in Ukraine should be approved. Hey, Tony Takiri. So, Tony, it looks like you'll have a place to crash when you're in Kyiv for the next year, assuming that everything goes well tomorrow. Hey, ciao, bello. How is everybody tonight? Hey, TFP Bobo. Well, thanks for joining us. I sure do appreciate it. Hey, Anthony Tommy Tom. If you have recently found this channel, hey, Little Red Sunflower. I was just talking about you as a sponsor of tonight's live. Hey, Michael. And my big thanks. Thank you. A lot did happen while I was away. It certainly did. And yet nothing has changed, Nightshade. And yet nothing has changed. Now, let's see, what was I going to say? If you have recently discovered this channel, or if you have been following this channel all along, and you did not yet get yourself a free Patreon account, please be aware that a great deal of content gets created over there that never makes it to TikTok or to YouTube or whatever. And so hey, Van. And so I would encourage you, if you are not currently a Patreon member and you can be one for free, right? It is better if you can kick me $5 a month. That would be great. But if not, you can still stay in touch over there. Look, the future of TikTok is very uncertain in the United States. If I'm not mistaken, like the 90-day moratorium is like up today or tomorrow. And so who knows what's going to happen with Trump in charge? It's clearly not high on his priority list. We're not hearing about the dangers of TikTok anymore, even though it is very dangerous, by the way. I'm not a fan. I'm on TikTok. I don't use TikTok. There's a difference. Was there another 90? Papa Don. Papa fucking Don. How are you even on here? I didn't think you had electricity, man. I thought you were stuck up in the woods somewhere. Well, it's nice to see you, buddy. Well, Chris, I can't give that reassurance. Chris says, hello, Peter. Please give some reassurance that just because of idiot Trump, it's not bad news for Ukraine. How can I give that reassurance? How can anybody listen to what comes out of the mouth, what it claims is a mouth, of that 300 pounds of dog shit and fake tan in a cheap suit, that lying son of a bitch, that traitorous piece of shit, that puppet of the Putin regime? How can one give any reassurance when the son of a bitch said the words? You don't start a fight with somebody 20 times your size and then ask for missiles. I'm sorry? What did you just say? This guy who is supposed to be all about business, right? It's all business. Business. Nothing gets in the way of business. Bullshit. The Ukrainians offered to buy $30 to $50 billion worth of U.S. weapons. $15 billion in Patriots, which are so desperately needed here. And what did Trump do? Did he take the money? No. He accused Ukraine of starting this war with Russia, and then saying, you can't start a war with somebody 20 times your own size, a war you can't win, and then expect handouts of missiles. Handouts with $15 billion on the table. It's outrageous. Now, Chris, don't apologize, Chris, because there is hope. And there are, thank you, Tony. Thank you very much. Well, Michael Gray, that's got to be the most stupid thing I ever heard. I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. Wayne Weller. Oh, okay. Got it. So there is hope, but the hope is not with the United States. The United States has its own problems. It's got a Kremlin gremlin in the White House taking a chainsaw to the institutions of our democracy and giving the finger to the Supreme Court and any judicial check on his power. And why wouldn't he? The very same Supreme Court that is now trying to rein him in is the same bunch of partisan hacks who told him he could do whatever he wanted. Oh, and I'll tell you, there's a really interesting thing happening there, right? Now, look, it was the Koch brothers who got those partisan hacks their seats on the bench. Right? It was they that surfaced their names to the president, and the president put them on the bench, right? The Koch brothers, famous billionaire conservatives who are trying to destroy democracy. But they only want to destroy it as far as they make money at it. Their fortunes are important to them and are on the line. They're suing Trump over the tariffs. Now think about it. In this nightmare of corruption that is the U.S. federal system currently subverted by the traitor Trump, the people that put him in power are now realizing the danger they have created for themselves and are suing him, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court, suing him over his nightmare tariff regimes. And what way are those partisan hacks that are owned by the billionaire class going to vote? How are they going to decide? Do they support the Koch brothers with their billions who got them in front of the president? Or do they support the president against the people who got them in front of the president? It is the perfect storm of corruption. And to see it play out will be interesting. Now, if Trump keeps on the way that he is, it is my deep hope that the moneyed interest in the United States will realize that he is out to get them too. Right? Trump wants to be the only American billionaire. He plays a zero-sum game, this guy. He is not interested in anybody else winning. He doesn't do win-wins. For him to win, you must lose. That's his whole mindset. That means that he needs to wreck the American economy. He needs to concentrate all the wealth in his own hands. He needs to be the billionaire president for life with complete power. I'll tell you, I don't know how anybody learns English. We have all these silent K's in our vocabulary, right? There's one silent K in knife. There's two silent K's in Knicks, like as in the New York Knicks. And there's three silent K's, a KKK, if you will, in MAGA. Judy, I think that sometimes. So, look, Chris, I don't disagree that there isn't help out there, that there isn't hope. There is hope. But the hope is in Europe. It is not in the United States. And Trump made that very clear when he refused to sell. He refused $50 billion worth of business so that he doesn't piss off Putin. Now, just look at what we did today. The UN drafted a resolution condemning the massacre, the Palm Sunday massacre in Sumy, right? Now, if you're not familiar with that, what happened was the Russians hit the center of Sumy on Palm Sunday when everybody was in church with ballistic missiles. I'm sorry, it was the G7. You're right, Kreger. It was a G7 resolution. You're absolutely correct. The G7 wanted to draft a resolution condemning this attack on civilians on a holy day in the center, right? There's video of people in church when the windows smashed from the bomb blast. This was intentional. Make no mistake. It was so intentional that the second missile, the second Iskander-M, came in 42 minutes later when all the first responders were on the scene and people had gathered to help. It was a double tap. It was a double tap. The Nanopam is correct. The death toll is now 35. With over 100 wounded, that toll is likely to rise. Trump said, "Oh, I was told it was a mistake." Like you make a mistake directing two ballistic missiles into the center of town 42 minutes apart on Palm fucking Sunday. Give me a break. What kind of credulous fool must you be to listen to this stuff and believe it? Now, of course, the good news is, I don't think he believes it. It's just what he says to quell his base. He doesn't really believe it. He does not give a shit about international law, the UN Charter, or the reality of the situation. He does not give a shit about Ukrainian sovereignty. He gives the gig away every time he talks about U.S.-Russian negotiations on Ukraine going so well. Oh, I don't disagree, Tony. The fault is not in our stars. It is in ourselves. Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom of the problem. If it weren't him, it would be somebody else. It would be some other piece of shit that was ready to sell out the United States to our worst enemies. And the Russians are our worst enemies, make no mistake. They give us all the evidence every day here in Ukraine that they are the enemies of the truth, of liberty, of freedom, of democracy in the world. And you're right, Little Red. We cannot be exhausted by the lies. We have to see through them, and we have to object to them every time. So it is worth pointing out, too, while we're on the subject of Mango Mussolini, why we're on that subject. Do you guys know the stories that they tell in North Korea about Kim Jong-un? In North Korea, they say that when Kim Jong-un was born, all the birds sang in Korean. They say that the first time he shot a rifle, he hit the bullseye so precisely 3 times in a row that there was only one hole in the target. Okay? They tell these stupid, incredible lies that nobody could ever believe about the dear leader, right? Like he doesn't shit. Kim Jong-un has never taken a shit in his life because he doesn't decay, right? He is a god king. Now they're doing the same thing in America, and the maggots are eating it up. Donald Trump is 6'3" tall. This is according to the medical doctors that just examined him, which means that approaching 80, he's put an inch on since he became president in 2016 when he was only 6'2". Now he's 6'3". Not only is he 6'3", a giant among men, he weighs 224 pounds. I mean, look up some of the NFL players that are 6'3" and weigh 224 pounds and compare them to Donald fucking Trump and his upside down pear-shaped body. Give me a break. You have got to be kidding me. Trump is being worshipped. Have you seen those stupid gold lapel pins of Donald Trump's profile? Psh. See, Chris, that's the big concern, right? We hope that Zelensky won't be forced to fold. Hey, Darlene, you're not late. You're right on time for you. So the good news is, okay, so, I mean, it's so hard to keep up with all the lies and fabrications and extortions. And I was on vacation last week, which I'm deeply appreciative to everybody that helped me do that. Thank you. But I was on vacation last week, and I didn't know that Reuters published some of the new details of the new mineral deal that the United States is still trying to force on Ukraine. Dig this. In the latest version, not only do we have neo-colonial economic extortion of the worst sort, but the U.S. wants Ukraine to turn over ownership of the Brotherhood pipeline to them. Now, what is that pipeline? That is the pipeline that Ukraine shut down January 1st. The one that pumps all that Russian natural gas from Russia to Europe. America. I shouldn't say America, Donald Trump and his coterie of goons and goblins want Ukraine to just turn over ownership of that line to us so that Russia can make billions for its war chest again. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So this is what we're up against, folks. And I'll tell you, I don't know what to do about it. There is maybe some hope. In the United States, look, the genocide in Palestine did not move the maggots. The genocide in Ukraine did not move the maggots. The suspension of habeas corpus and due process of law for 12% of the American population, legal immigrants, did not move the maggots. They cheered it on, right? Cheered it on. It is possible that the almighty dollar and a fear of losing their money will finally turn Americans against Trump. It is like a knife in my heart that in the face of threats to democracy, in the face of the evil that is Putin and people like this Bukele in El Salvador, in the face of this evil, America is unmoved and doesn't give a shit. But Trump bankrupting their 401ks, that might just do it. That might just do it. It's not a new money grift for him, Scully, cryptocurrency. Those NFTs that he was selling, that was all just black money funneled to his campaign. Because there is no way anybody on earth thought those goddamn stupid things were worth anything. Okay. The blaming of other people is unbelievable. Like the logical, I was watching some maggot who was talking about how Donald Trump didn't blame Ukraine for starting the war. As if we didn't just hear him say the words. You don't start a war you can't win. You don't take on an opponent who's 20 times your size. Well, Russia is 20 times the size of Ukraine. That must mean that it was Ukraine who started the war in Trump's mind. And yet the maggots are doing calisthenics, acrobatics, trying to apologize, as Trump apologists, trying to explain how that's not what he said. It's worse than the Confederates. Some of them are the Confederates, Bobby. You're not wrong. But there's a whole slew of them that have been bought and paid for by the Russians. And none of them are going to jail. We had this thing in Tennessee just recently, $10 million funneled to social media content creators to amplify Russian lies. And none of those people are even in any trouble. They have just as many followers as they ever did, if not more. More people listen to them than ever before. And we know what they are. Trav, I'm not sure that that's a very complimentary way to talk to me. But it sounds a bit, how you doing, Trav? Good to see you, pal. Nice to have a moderator here. I appreciate it. Okay. So we are now supposed to believe that Trump is 6'3" and 224 pounds. Think about that for a second, right? I mean, really. Okay, now last night we saw, now this is very interesting to me, the number of drones attacking Ukraine. It has reduced significantly over the last few days. Yesterday we saw 62 yesterday, 52 last night, with an 88% interception rate. Now, the interception rate is fluctuating. I want to highlight that. It's very disconcerting because it could mean that Ukraine is already running out of air defense. I know we're very short on Patriots. The Israelis just sent 90 Patriots. The Germans just agreed to send 30 Patriot missiles. But it looks like those stocks are being exhausted. Hey, James, the transport driver. If you guys ever need horses moved in the United States, you call up James. He'll get your horses there just fine. Just fine. Hey, Rohan. So Chris says, what is Zelensky saying at the moment about the nonsense coming out of the USA? Hey, Mike Kelly. Hey, Annette. Zelensky has a remarkable sense of politesse that I am clearly lacking, that I do not have. And Zelensky is not saying much, except he's saying that we're not doing your mineral deal. That's not happening. We agreed to your unconditional ceasefire, but the other side has never accepted it. And it is over soon, right? The 30 days, the 30 days since Putin agreed purportedly to agreed to a 30-day energy infrastructure ceasefire, which Russia has repeatedly violated. That's up like tomorrow or the next day. Hey, Bren. That's up like tomorrow or the next day. What is Ukraine going to do when the so-called energy ceasefire expires? My God, I hope they do what they did in Kursk last night. So you guys know Sumy got hit in the Palm Sunday massacre, right? Well, just across the border in Kursk is where those missile units were that fired those Iskanders. And the Ukrainians hit them hard last night. 115 drones. The Russians say they knocked down 109. 115 sent to Kursk last night. And they pummeled the shit out of the missile battalions that fired the missiles into Sumy. So the only justice you get in this world is what you grasp with your own bleeding hands. And the Ukrainians' hands are bloody with their own blood from having to do this over and over and over again. Because America has completely lost its spine and its moral compass. We are no longer the champions of democracy. We are the cheerleading section for Cheeto Jesus. And it breaks my heart every fucking day. I gotta tell you. So Kursk got pummeled last night, at least 115 Ukrainian drones. My fond wish is that even as we speak, the Ukrainians are lining up hundreds and hundreds of drones to pummel the shit out of oil infrastructure inside of Russia as soon as this 30-day bullshit is up. Then that is coming. Russia is so desperate for troops that they couldn't do the Kursk incursion. They couldn't get rid of them without North Koreans, right? Without an estimated 15,000 North Koreans, 12,000 in the original batch, another 3,500 that came in about a month ago. 15,000 North Koreans, 150 Koksan self-propelled howitzers. Couldn't do it without the North Koreans. Oh, and a really interesting article, Reuters did some digging. And according to Reuters, Russia can only produce 2 to 2.5 million shells a year, but they're firing off 5 million. Who's making up the difference? The North Koreans. In some cases, North Korean artillery makes up 75 to 100% of Russian artillery unit consumption. That's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. If only the rest of the world had given Ukraine the same kind of support. But we didn't. We haven't. We haven't. On the subject of foreign fighters in Russia, the Ukrainians have captured 2 Chinese nationals. You may have seen this. These Chinese nationals attested to the nature of their service. They were hired as mercenaries. They had their passports on them. They knew they were going to fight in Russia, in Ukraine. However, they claim that Russia lied to them about everything. They say that Russia is not the strong nation that they were led to believe it was, that the Ukrainians are not incompetent. The Ukrainians are strong and resilient. They were not fed. They report periods of 48 hours where all they got was a handful of uncooked rice that they then had to figure out how to cook in a training camp with no electricity and no running water. This is how they're living. They said the chance to escape is zero. Even at night, if you get up and go to the bathroom, a guard with a rifle follows you to the toilet. Sentries are posted everywhere. It's like being in prison, being in the Russian army. They said the chance of... Oh, and by the way, they don't give you live ammunition until you get to the contact line. That's when they hand you your first magazine of live ammunition. And of course, there's blocking troops or barrier brigades behind you. If you try to flee or run away, you'll be shot by them. Is it any wonder that there isn't more mutiny and desertion in the Russian in the Russian army? It's no wonder at all. You can't get out. JSM says, I heard that Georgia is protesting. What do you know about it? God bless the Georgians. They're coming up on 120 days of protesting, nonstop. 120 days. They are protesting the stolen election. The last election was rigged in favor of the pro-Russian government, and the people took to the streets. Despite water cannons, rubber bullets, tear gas, they are still in the streets. Not just in Tbilisi. Tbilisi is the capital of Georgia, right? Tbilisi. But in the 8 largest cities in the country and on college campuses. There are college campus strikes all over Georgia. Georgia is not the only country protesting the pro-Russian takeover of its government. The same is true. There are protests ongoing since November in Serbia over the corruption of the pro-Putin government there. In Hungary for 2 months over Orban and his pro-Putin stance, selling the Hungarians out against their hopeful future inside the EU and NATO. So Serbia, Hungary, Slovakia, anti-Fico protests. Everywhere the world is protesting against the takeover of its government by the Russians, except in the United States of America where it really matters. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say lots of people are protesting. Not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. Heard an F-16 was shot down. An F-16 was shot down. Yeah, I'm hopeful about the 19th, Judy. Yeah. Is there a possibility that they could open a front? I don't know what that means. They, who, where, what are you talking about? Regarding the F-16, the story goes that the Russians shot down an F-16. By all accounts, they did. Though the details of it are unclear. We're not sure if it was an aerial engagement. We're not sure if it was a ground-based launch of some S-400 missiles. It's not clear. There's an investigation ongoing. The F-16 was taken down by the Russians, right? By the Russians. Now, it was not friendly fire, Steve. The first F-16 that was lost was due to friendly fire. We know that. This is the first F-16 shot down in combat on the Ukrainian side. The pilot, 26-year-old Pavel Ivanov, was lost. And to his friends and family and those in mourning in Ukraine, I'd like to extend the most sincere condolences of this channel on the loss of this man, this young man, tragically young man, who did receive the Order of the Hero of Ukraine posthumously, pardon me. But pal, the story isn't that the Russians shot down an F-16. Come on. The F-16s have been in country for a year. They fly missions every single day, clearing the skies of Russian missiles, pummeling the front line, taking out bridges inside of Russia and targets inside of Russia. The story isn't that the Russians finally shot down an F-16. The story is it took a fucking year because equipment losses are going to happen. We always knew some of the F-16s would be shot down, but it took them a year. General Anthony Cavoli in the United States, in testimony before Congress, said that the F-16s are flying missions in Ukraine every single day with an 80% mission success rate. Love that, Anthony. So that's the story, that the Ukrainians have been slowly establishing air superiority for the last year, and Russia's been able to do shit about it. In my opinion, that is the story. Hey, Titch, good evening. There was a good question here. Hold on for a second. Sorry. Okay, well, I got that. I don't know how many F-16s are delivered so far, Mel. Nobody knows. It is far less than what was promised, just like the number of Patriots is far less than what was promised. Pete, can Ukraine air defense distinguish between missiles and Shahed drones to save Patriots just for the missiles? Yes, absolutely they can. Zoe says, to the Russians, it's a big deal like when they wanted to take down Challengers and Abrams. Now, Zoe, I don't know if you're Ukrainian, if you're in Ukraine, or if you've seen pictures of captured Russian equipment in Ukraine. It's destroyed, right? Have you seen pictures of the captured Challenger and Abrams on display in Red Square in Moscow? They're in such good shape that the Russians bent the barrel on the Challenger, in order to make it look like it was fucked up a little bit. They're in great shape, the Western weapons on display in Russia. I think we are getting ready to enter Ukraine with boots on. Let's help them. Antonio, are you in the UK? I'm just wondering. Nobody has an equivalent to the Patriots. No. That's part of the problem. So, Antonio, I don't know if you're in the UK, but it does appear, I mean, I don't know, right? Nobody knows. But it looks to me like the British, the French, and the Germans, the Scandinavians, and the Baltic folks are all taking the loss of America, and it is a loss. Make no mistake, you've lost the support of America right now. Are taking the loss of American support very seriously. And they better. Because if they don't, they're going to be caught in the big squeeze between an imperialistic Russia on the east and a kind of corporate oligarchy imperial America in the west that wants to devour its neighbor Canada and Greenland, to exploit for itself the extraction economy potential of those two countries. That appears to be what's going on. And it appears that Trump and Putin have divided the world up that way. And they intend to squeeze Europe in the middle. So if Europe has any intention of remaining a sovereign and potentially the only emergent superpower in the world, I think it's time to put boots on the ground. It's time to deal with Russia now while Russia is at its weakest. There are at least 6 armed insurgencies inside of the Russian Federation that I'm aware of that want independence from the Russian state. Yeah, this loss of expertise, Little Red, it's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. Frederick Merz, for his part, has not only come up with billions of euros in weapons support for Ukraine. I think the last package was valued at 2.1 billion euros in weapons. He is planning on visiting Ukraine as his first official state visit following his confirmation as Chancellor of Germany. And that's great, right? That's the kind of support that Ukraine needs to see from its European allies if it's going to stay in this game at all. Okay, guys, I think that's it for my kind of top line news. Oh, there's the front line too, which we should address. Let me give you a quick... So there's a couple things going on. There's just the simple reality that Russia has lost more artillery equipment in this past 3 months than at any other 3-month period in the war. Artillery is just giving out, right? These barrels have a life of maybe 2,000 rounds. After that, you got to replace them. They can't produce them fast enough, not even close. And so we're seeing artillery losses that are just extraordinary. And in this war, artillery has been the god of war. It's been a large component of the battle on both sides. To lose that artillery is going to be extremely detrimental for the Russians. On top of the heavy artillery losses that we've seen, we're seeing a huge spike in the losses of soft targets. These are mostly civilian vehicles, motorcycles, e-bikes that the Russians are using to enter battle. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, when we think about that, and what does it mean? We're seeing the Russians try to pull off the spring offensive campaign that Moscow promised. The thing is, they don't have the artillery and they don't have the armored vehicles. So what we're seeing are these company-sized mechanized attacks all up and down the line. Chasiv Yar, Toretsk, In the last 48 hours, this is all in the last 48 hours, Chasiv Yar, Toretsk, Pokrovsk, Zaporizhia, Kursk. You get about a dozen armored vehicles, maybe 3 of them are tanks, and then you get 70 guys on motorcycles, all rushing at the front line. Every one of these attacks has been repelled with large losses of armored vehicles, particularly motorcycles. 80% of the casualties in the attack in Zaporizhia were caused by drones against guys on motorcycles long before they ever got to the zero line, before they ever got into the fight. 80%. The Russian mill bloggers are lamenting the loss of drones and drone capabilities. They say that Ukraine is outpacing them, both with innovation and with production. That they have to rely on all their optics as charity from supporters, and it's not coming in. The Russian economy is in a tailspin. The Russians don't have the money to send optical components to the warriors at the front. They don't have it. The Russians are using horses, mules, and donkeys for transportation, which is great because then you have something to eat when you get to the front line. We do hope that Taurus is incoming. Mertz said that he is insistent that he is going to send them. Now, there is some politics to be played there. He did leave an opening that could mean that the UK or France could block it or veto it, but I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think we're going to see Taurus in Ukraine sometime after May 6th when the chancellor is installed in Germany. Okay, and that's my top line news. Questions, comments, chat them in. Before we do that, let me thank again the sponsors of this live. Mostly Patreon supporters without whom I could not do this. If you are not a Patreon supporter, I would love to have you on the Patreon. If you can kick me $5 or $10 a month, please join the Patreon. If you can't, just get a free account so you don't miss all the shit I do on Patreon. I want to thank Chris Carter. I want to thank Baria Patricia Bella. God, I hate that name so much, Cynthia. Cynthia and Tony. Bella. God, I hate that name so much, Cynthia. Cynthia and Tony. Dark Irish, Jose Hernandez, Little Red Sunflower, Integral, and my buddy in Ireland, Jerry O. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Trav. Is China arming Russia? It's from what so there's been one drone factory in in China, that was sanctioned for providing lethal drones to the Russians. The help from China appears to be covert in the form of microprocessors, electronic gadgets, chips, right? That kind of thing. Food, dual-use components. The real military hardware support is coming from North Korea and Iran. Now, if your best friends are North Korea and Iran, personally, I think you should evaluate your life. That's my opinion. But that's who's made this war possible. North Korea and Iran. Thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server. And thanks to the new subscriber. I'm sorry, the message went too fast for me to get your name. But thank you for your, or is that Richard? Richard, thank you for subscribing. Didn't America release the Russian warlord for that basketball player? Well, not exactly, Jerry. That was a multi-party deal, right? It wasn't just Brittany Griner, and it wasn't just... I think who you're talking about is Putin's assassin in Berlin. I forget the guy's name. Piece of shit. But he's a Kremlin assassin who murdered somebody in Berlin, outside of Russia, right? And they wanted him back. The Russians wanted him back. He is now like a parliamentarian. He's an MP in the State Duma. And because that's how Putin rewards, right? Same with Maria Butina. She's a deputy in the State Duma. That's how Putin rewards the people who are loyal to him. He gives them positions of power and influence and wealth. Peter, there is news from the volunteers. They say they are already even without America. From your lips to God's ear, Antonio, I hope so. Thank you, McCurran. Or Mr. Curran, sorry. And when they fail him, there's always windows. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how one man could bring a word into common usage that hadn't been used in a long time. Defenestration. The act of execution by throwing someone out a window. Defenestration. No news on Gravehawk. We have a couple systems here in the country. That's all I know. Other than it's a short-range anti-missile or air defense system. It was a brazen assassination using a pistol from a bicycle. How he was released is anyone's guess. He was released as part of a prisoner swap. So it wasn't just him. It was, It wasn't just him. It was, a bunch of Americans, some Europeans, some political prisoners that were Russian, like, what's his name? Kara-Murza, people like that. And then a couple other Russians that they wanted back. China has stopped their airlines from buying more Boeing planes. As well they should. I mean, come on. Boeing has been subverted by a bunch of Gordon Gekko types, a bunch of Trump types who have said to hell with safety and innovation. Let's just squeeze as much cash out of this cow as we can before we kill it. Thanks, Simon. Guys, James, the transport driver, again, if you need to move horses in the United States, I cannot recommend Mr. Boudreau enough. Years of experience doing that, by all accounts, from what I can tell. If I was moving horses, I'd call Jimmy Boy. So James Boudreau will be our sponsor tomorrow night. James, your transport driver. Tonight, again, it was the people who made it possible for me to stay in the country another year, to which I am deeply appreciative. If you want to sponsor, I've still got Thursday and Friday night this week, and next week, of course, is open for sponsorship. PayPal is in the description. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Parda. Thank you, Chef Deb, for everything, especially your little gift on vacation. I put it to good use, I can assure you. Somebody asked the question about, did I get any rest on vacation? I got so much rest on vacation. Holy cow. I was only up past midnight one night of the whole thing. I got 8 hours of sleep or more every night. Take care, Antonio. Thank you, Bren. Night, Bobby. Well, Brenda, it's the only thing that TikTok works with, so I don't know what to tell you, hon. Thank you, Little Red. Good night, Anthony. Antonio, pardon me. Got to keep them separate. No, so I got so much rest. It was really such a pleasant week. And I really appreciate it, everybody. I really appreciate it. A lot of good food. Oh, there you go, Chef Deb. Thank you. It wasn't even his. He bought it from somebody else. Elon never innovated anything. Let's be clear about that. He is no genius. He is an idiot who was born with $400 million golden spoon in his mouth. Hey, Charlie. And PayPal, just like Tesla, was invented by somebody else, and he just bought it. Exactly, Zoe. Exactly. Scully, where's Mulder? I used to love the X-Files, boy. Used to love it. They bought him out to get rid of him. That's exactly what Trump is going to do with him soon, too. I guess we saw the first Trump appointee, Kash Patel, sidelined. Looks like Elon is probably next. Although, even money on whether it's Elon or Rubio. Rubio is clearly getting ready to exit stage left, I think. Yeah. Right, Pugga Mahone? Exactly. Okay. Guys, it's top of the hour. It's 1 a.m. here in Kyiv, so I'm going to call it a night. Again, we've got sponsorships open for Thursday, Friday, and next week. PayPal is in the description. Hit me up, and I will talk to you all soon. His spiritual advisor. Give me a break. Night, David Keller. Levitt has 5 Scaramucci's left. What is that? Like a month and a half? That's great, dude. We should bring back the Scaramucci as a measurement of time. Night, Bug'em Home. Good night, everybody.